Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh, my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally.
Sonny Hostin just got verbally steamrolled by Tomi Lahren so hard, MSNBC might file a wellness check. What was supposed to be another round of smug back and forth turned into a full-blown verbal smackdown. And Sonny forgot her mouth guard. You won't believe what Tomi unearthed. And no, it wasn't just political fluff and hypocrisy. Think of this as less of a debate and more of a televised mic drop, stacked higher than a reality star's wedding drama. Buckle up, this one's got layers.
What she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration. Again, she failed miserably. But this really isn't what she calls resistance genealogy. It's just another indication of Trump derangement syndrome.
But
I really am happy, though, that she has such a fascination with my family history, and I'm hoping that she will take on Elizabeth Warren's next.
wow, that would be very interesting.
Sonny Hostin, basically the living, breathing version of a self-congratulatory TED Talk clip, just got intellectually flattened by none other than Tomi Lahren. Yep, that Tomi who treats every hot take like it's a flaming javelin ready for primetime TV. As for Sonny, she didn't just stumble. She collapsed like a tower built on fragile tweets and recycled political one-liners.
Sonny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sonny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe.
Let's be real. Sonny Hostin is the type to walk into a room, sniff out the slightest whiff of a debate, and immediately start rehearsing a dramatic TED Talk no one invited. She's the queen of performative outrage, the empress of exaggerated size, and the unofficial spokesperson for as a woman of color, right before dropping a take so forced it makes everyone collectively sprain their eyeballs from rolling too hard.
Provide them with DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
But this wasn't just your typical buffet of buzzwords. Oh no. Sonny and her fellow View co-hosts tried to spar with Tomi, only to end up tripping over their own contradictions and a pair of borrowed I'm so important heels from the discount aisle of performative politics, Tem. Tomi? She didn't even flinch. She simply held up a verbal mirror, and Sonny folded faster than her Met Gala outfit deserved to be forgotten.
You that bothers him so much.
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that whatsoever.
See, Sonny Hostin has carefully crafted her brand as The View's resident intellectual, which is kind of like being the fastest tricycle in a race full of flat tires. Her go-to formula? Crank up the moral high ground, add a dash of elite condescension, and deliver it all with the confidence of someone who skimmed the Constitution once and decided she is democracy incarnate. The catch? The moment anyone pushes for actual facts, it's like watching a hamster try to do quantum physics, only with more sass and an overworked hair flip.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
It all kicked off, naturally, when Sunny decided to take a cheap swing at conservatives, painting everyone right of a kombucha stand as a knuckle-dragging rage machine with Wi-Fi. Sitting on the View couch like she's the political Thanos, she tried snapping her fingers to make logic vanish. But credit where it's due, Tomi Lahren came locked and loaded, with facts, receipts, and a level of icy calm that made Sunny's faux intellectual front crumble like a stale croissant. It wasn't even a competition. It was like Sunny brought a TED Talk to a truth battle and forgot the slides. Her confidence deflated faster than a budget air mattress, and when Tomi laid out the receipts, brutal. Sunny wasn't just caught off guard. Her entire curated persona got spotlighted for what it is, a curated cocktail of social justice branding and outrage on demand.
Obama years, it was a cattle call to come into this nation illegally. And furthermore, this is again the left's attempt at emotional blackmail. And I would just like to state, I don't know if they understand this or not, but if you don't want your family to be broken up when you cross the border illegally, here's an idea. Don't cross the border illegally. Then your family will surely stay together. I don't know why the left can't think of this, but they would rather try to tell us that we hate families, we want to break up families, we're horrible, we're despicable. No, we want to enforce federal immigration law.
Let's take a quick stroll through Sunny's greatest hits, her never-ending sermons on democracy, liberty, and doing the right thing, all while casually hinting that folks who disagree with her don't deserve a voice, a platform, or possibly even a place in the group chat. Nothing says champion of free speech quite like trying to revoke it from anyone who doesn't pass the Sunny Hostin ideological purity test. Imagine democracy, but with a velvet rope, and Sunny playing the club bouncer with a clipboard and a superiority complex. But then Tomi Lahren stepped in, receipts in hand, and the vibe shifted fast. Watching her drop Sunny's inconsistencies was like seeing a wine connoisseur find out their prized bottle is actually gas station Merlot with a fancy label. Sunny froze, eyebrows twitching, voice cracking, clutching her pearls so tight they filed a harassment complaint. Her whole aura of confidence flatlined like a phone on 1%. And you'd think, after years of dishing out hot takes on The View, Sunny would have developed a backup plan for when her points start to unravel faster than off-brand duct tape. But nope. Plan A is smugness, Plan B is louder smugness, and Plan C? Cut to commercial.
I think you've resonated with so many people.
I think, in large part, I represent middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one. They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do. And I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there. And so I provide that for a lot of young women.
Let's talk about one of Tomi's sharpest digs, the way she peeled back Sunny Hostin's chronic habit of self-appointing as the ambassador for every marginalized identity under the sun. Sunny treats identity like a political Pokemon deck. Stack 'em all, and maybe your argument evolves into an irrefutable truth. Every time she speaks, it's like she's reading off an internal resume. Woman, Latina, lawyer, sage, spiritual guide, adjunct professor of Googled information. The irony? While Sunny constantly accuses others of condescension, she delivers every take like she's leading a TED Talk no one RSVP'd to. It's the tone of a professor who's personally offended that you didn't read the Federalist Papers. Twice. She drops lines like, I just think people need to be educated, with the same energy as someone handing out detention slips for ideological misbehavior. Apparently, if you don't see eye to eye with her, it must be because your political education came from cartoon mascots and cereal trivia. And then there's her Olympic-level commitment to virtue signaling. She doesn't just want to win arguments. She wants you to feel like a moral swamp creature for even questioning her. For Sunny, every disagreement is a chance to hop on a soapbox, recite from the Book of Righteous Opinions, and maybe toss in a citation from the New York Times just to let you know she's been doing the work.
Keep on talking about criminals and immigrants being criminals. And I just want people to understand what the facts are and the stats are, is that undocumented immigrants are much less likely to have committed crimes than American citizens. American citizens commit more crimes than anyone who is undocumented. I also want to make the point that an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal because he or she is undocumented. That is a civil offense. So to call people illegals is, in and of itself, I think, xenophobic and racist.
When Tomi flipped the script, reminding Sunny that you can't claim to be the moral compass of the nation while picking and choosing when principles are convenient, that's when the gloves came off. Sunny, caught off guard, fumbled, mumbled, and eventually pulled her classic card as a woman of color. Ah, yes, the ultimate debate shield in Sunnyland. Whip it out, and suddenly all accountability vanishes like a magician's rabbit. But Tomi didn't flinch. No, she just kept dropping contradictions, one after another, like receipts at a checkout counter. It wasn't just the facts that made Sunny stumble, it was how effortlessly her grandstanding was dismantled. All that manufactured outrage Sunny usually carries around, it popped like a balloon in a porcupine factory, and watching her desperately try to salvage any ounce of intellectual dignity turned into the most unintentionally hilarious reality TV moment of the week.
Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members.
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please.
That's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say if there is a criminal, if there's a gang member in this country, someone who has committed any crime, big or small, get him out. Sure, I'll absolutely concede that. We don't need criminals in this country. But if you're talking about somebody who you don't know because you haven't afforded them due process, then you can't just make that claim.
But the fact remains, President Trump is not only securing our border, but he is deporting criminal, illegal aliens. And if Democrats want to stand in the way of that, and they want to tell their constituents, hey, vote for us in the midterms, vote for us in 2028, we'll make sure that the criminal aliens come back, far be it for me to stand in your way.
Here's the problem with building a career on smug sound bites and hashtag activism. Eventually, someone's going to fact check you, and when that happens, you'd better have more than just eye rolls, buzzwords, and a library of facial expressions that scream, I can't believe I have to explain this to you peasants. Sunny's entire persona? It's like an overpriced TED Talk nobody asked for. Overproduced, underwhelming, and so convinced of its own importance. While she's up there in her moral penthouse, the foundation's quietly crumbling every time she contradicts herself, dismisses dissent, or crumbles when challenged by someone who doesn't play by her rules. After the meltdown, Sunny's defenders tried to claim she was ambushed or taken out of context, which honestly is rich, because if anyone knows how to ambush with passive aggression, it's Sunny herself. The woman practically invented the term polite venom. You know, that tone where she says, with all due respect, and then proceeds to respectfully eviscerate your entire existence.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? At your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do. Yeah, I do.
You have an alarm?
And why is that? I mean, you lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home. It's not because you hate the people outside, it's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us safe.
But this time, no amount of polished disdain could save her. Sunny Hostin, the self-anointed intellectual heavyweight of daytime TV, got absolutely obliterated without Tomi Lahren even breaking a sweat. Tomi didn't need to scream, wave papers around, or coin new buzzwords to trend on X. She simply metaphorically held up the Sunny Hostin mirror. You know, the one that reflects every smug smirk and self-congratulatory head tilt, and lets Sunny roast herself into irrelevance. It was a masterclass in letting someone implode under the weight of their own inflated ego. Let's not kid ourselves. This wasn't just a rare glitch in Sunny's usually composed performance. No, this was the grand finale of a years-long slow burn. Sunny's been crumbling under the weight of her own self-importance for so long, you'd think someone would have handed her a hard hat and a warning sign by now. Her political commentary? It's always been less about the actual issues and more about showcasing how deeply she feels about them. Emphasis on the she.
What I would like to point out is that there is no correlation between undocumented people and a rise in crime. That's statistically accurate. Immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, are less likely to commit crimes in the United States. So this notion somehow that it's about national security, I think is just false.
Because every time Sunny opens her mouth with that classic preamble, I think what's important to understand is you can almost hear the drumroll of impending nonsense. What follows is never a nuanced analysis or a compelling argument. No, it's usually a meandering detour through her sense of moral superiority, peppered with enough buzzwords to make a Wordle player cry. She doesn't inform, she performs. And this time, the audience finally stopped clapping. So when Tomi Lahren, never one to shy away from a clean takedown, simply let Sunny be Sunny, it was over before it even began. There were no raised voices, no eye-roll Olympics, no dramatic walk-offs or yelling matches that daytime television thrives on. Instead, it was one of those rare, quiet demolitions, the kind where someone lights the match, casually walks away, and lets the building collapse under the weight of its own structural flaws.
Me, you would believe differently.
But you know what, Alyssa, the woman.
But just to understand, are we saying, do we think the vast majority of Americans are racist? That's what I'm trying to help me understand.
I think that there is a significant portion that are racist, and you can't dismiss my lived experience.
Tomi didn't need to go for the jugular because Sunny Hostin was too busy tripping over her own words and contradictions. It wasn't a debate. It was an implosion. All Tomi had to do was sit back, stay calm, and let Sunny talk herself into a philosophical tailspin. Every sentence was a shovel, and Sunny just kept digging. Tomi offered a smug smile here, a raised eyebrow there, maybe the occasional interesting just to fan the flames. But for the most part, she let Sunny do the heavy lifting of self-sabotage. The irony? Sunny thought she was on a fence. That's the beauty of this particular train wreck. She truly believed she was delivering a scathing critique, unaware that she was broadcasting her own incoherence on live television. Tomi just mirrored it all back. No need for insults or interruptions, just one big polished mirror reflecting every condescending smirk and logical dead end right back at her. It wasn't a battle, it was a public service announcement. Sometimes the best way to win an argument is to let your opponent keep talking. But don't worry, Sunny will bounce back. She always does. After all, there's always another view segment, another monologue, another day to pretend that she's the only sane voice in a room full of people just trying to survive the news cycle without a thesaurus. As for Tomi, she didn't just expose Sunny, she steamrolled her. Not with rage or volume, but with the devastating power of coherence. A rare and dangerous weapon in the wild world of televised shouting matches. So, next time Sunny gears up for another battle of wits, let's hope she remembers to bring some. Because if this episode proved anything, it's that a podium doesn't make you right, a platform doesn't make you smart, and a smirk doesn't make you invincible. Especially when your whole argument crumbles faster than a vegan cookie in a heat wave. Want more glorious takedowns of media elitism and performative righteousness? Smash that like button so hard Sunny can hear it from her dressing room. And don't forget to subscribe unless you want Sunny Hostin to personally explain why you're morally bankrupt.